The great Kennedy Hall was dressed in gold. Heavy chandeliers bathed the marbled floors in warm light, while velvet chairs held hundreds of elegantly dressed patrons. The young virtuoso's gala was the kind of event where everything felt rehearsed even. The smiles. Journalists whispered with agents, and music professors nodded in judgmental approval. Everyone here believed they were in the presence of genius, but no one noticed the boy sitting quietly in the very last row. He wasn't part of the evening's program. His name wasn't printed in gold on any brochure. There was no entourage, or family beaming proudly beside him. He sat alone, a white cane resting across his lap, his dark sunglasses hiding the stillness in his eyes. His hands remained folded, but every so often, one finger would twitch as if echoing a note only he could hear. He was just 11 years old. His name was Malik. Beside him sat Miss Clara, an elderly black woman with silver hair tucked into a neat bun, her hands weathered from years of piano teaching in community centers and after-school programs. Her dress was modest, but her presence carried quiet dignity. To many, she looked like a retired music teacher. But to Malik, she was everything: mentor, guardian, and the only person in the world who had ever told him he was more than what people saw. Clara hadn't planned to bring him. This event wasn't for kids like him. Not because of his age, but because of what the world assumed, that brilliance came dressed in tuxedos, with private tutors and Ivy League recommendations. Not thrift store sweaters and subway rides, but Malik had insisted. "I don't want to play," he told her. "I just want to listen." He hadn't told her the real reason he wanted to come. He had heard about the legendary Leonardo Caruso, the night's featured performer, the man whose music once played on his mother's favorite vinyl before she disappeared from Malik's life without warning 6 years ago. The last time he heard her voice, she had whispered, "When you can play like the man on this record, come find me." He was 5. He didn't understand what she meant, until he heard Leonardo Caruso on the radio 2 years later. Tonight wasn't just a concert for Malik. It was a message to the universe. As the evening wore on, world class teenage pianists took the stage. Each one delivered near-perfect renditions of Bach, Rachmaninoff, and Chopin. Their fingers moved with robotic precision. Their parents glowed with pride. The applause was generous but hollow. Malik didn't clap. He listened. He listened in a way most people never had to, through vibrations, through timing, through the way silence wrapped around every mistake. He didn't hear notes, he heard feelings. Where others saw brilliance, he felt absence, perfection, but no pain. No truth until Leonardo Caruso stepped on stage. The room shifted. A hush of reverence fell across the audience. Leonardo was older now, white hair combed back, posture slower but still proud. He didn't speak. He didn't bow. He just sat, placed his fingers on the keys, and let the silence wait. Then he played. And suddenly Malik's head tilted. His fingers tapped the wooden armrest. A single tear slipped from under his dark glasses, because for the first time that night the music spoke to him, it wept. It fought, it stumbled and rose again. It was flawed, human, and yet masterful. Leonardo wasn't showing off. He was bleeding through the piano. Miss Clara leaned toward Malik. "You okay?" Malik nodded. "This is what I came for." When Leonardo finished, the applause was thunderous. The standing ovation instant, but Malik remained seated, frozen, as if trapped in the last note, and for a split second just before Leonardo exited the stage, his eyes swept the crowd and landed on the boy who wasn't clapping, who wasn't trying to be seen, who simply understood. Their eyes didn't meet, but something else did. Leonardo slowed. Just enough to make Clara notice, and she smiled quietly, because maybe, just maybe, the boy they all ignored. Had already made his presence known. The hall had emptied out slowly, like a candle burning down to its wick. The thunderous applause had faded into the quiet shuffling of expensive shoes on marble and murmured praise from the guests as they filtered out into the night. But Malik didn't move, asterisk. He sat frozen at the edge of the last row, his fingers still lightly tapping the air, tracing out the shape of the last note Leonardo Caruso had played. He could still feel it. Not just the sound, but the emotion buried inside it. It was like he'd been given something sacred, something only he was meant to understand. The music had spoken a language only his heart knew, and he wasn't ready. To let it go. Asterisk. Miss Clara placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. You ready, baby? Asterisk. Malik hesitated. Can I just get closer to the piano? Asterisk. She blinked. Closer? Asterisk. I just want to feel it. Asterisk. She hesitated, then nodded. The hall was almost empty. The crew was packing up cables, wiping the keys down, and adjusting mic stands. The lights had dimmed except for one spotlight still glowing over the stage. Asterisk. Malik stood slowly, using his cane with practiced ease. He walked forward with Clara by his side, one step at a time, following the rhythm in his head. When he reached the piano, he didn't touch the keys, just the wood, the frame, the smooth polished surface. He moved around the side and ran his hand gently along the edge, like a blind man reading a secret carved into stone. Asterisk. Behind them, a voice spoke. Asterisk. You like the sound? Asterisk. Malik turned slightly. He knew the voice instantly. Asterisk. Leonardo Caruso stood just a few feet away, having returned quietly after greeting a few donors in the back. He still wore his tuxedo, but the body was loose and his expression had softened. Malik didn't say anything. Leonardo stepped closer. You didn't clap, I noticed. I was still listening, Malik said softly. The pianist raised an eyebrow. Still listening? Asterisk. It wasn't over yet, not for me. Asterisk. Leonardo looked at Clara, then back at the boy. What's your name? Asterisk. Malik. Asterisk. Do you play, Malik? Clara started to answer for him, but Malik beat her to it. I play what I feel, not what's written. Asterisk. Leonardo smiled at the answer. Good. What's the point of playing if you're just copying ghosts? Asterisk. He paused, studying the boy again. Then he gestured toward the piano bench. Asterisk. Go ahead. Play something, just for fun. Asterisk. Clara's eyes widened. Oh no, sir, he doesn't have training. He's never performed in front of anyone. But me, he's never even read music. Asterisk. Leonardo looked amused. Well, neither did I at his age. I didn't ask if he was ready. I asked if he wanted to. Asterisk. Malik didn't wait for permission. He walked toward the bench, folded his cane, and sat down. The piano loomed in front of him like a mountain. His fingers hovered over the keys just a few inches above, but he didn't press them yet. Asterisk. He whispered something no one heard. Then he began. The first note was soft, unsure, like the beginning of a sentence that had never been spoken out. Loud, then came another, and another. Soon it was no longer notes, it was a story. Asterisk. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. Asterisk. Malik's hands floated and dipped like birds over water, discovering rhythm as if it lived inside his veins. He didn't play a known song. He wasn't reciting anything. He was building something note by note out of feeling, instinct, memory. Asterisk. Leonardo stood silently, watching, his arms crossed, but his chest rising slower. Miss Clara had both hands over her mouth. The stage crew stopped what they were doing and turned because something was happening. The boy with no sight had just become the center of vision for everyone in that room. Asterisk. He played softly at first, then louder, boldly, like he'd suddenly remembered who he was. Like something had cracked open. He wasn't just imitating beauty, he was it. And he didn't need anyone to tell him he belonged here. Asterisk. Leonardo stepped forward as Malik's final note faded into the ceiling of Kennedy Hall. Asterisk. The silence that followed was heavy. Asterisk. Then Leonardo let out a soft breath. You've got something, kid. Malik said nothing. I don't know what it is, the old pianist continued. But it's not trained. It's not polished. It's something real. Asterisk. Clara stepped forward slowly. He's never played in front of anyone before. Asterisk. Leonardo chuckled. Well, I think it's time that changed. Asterisk. Malik's head tilted. Why me? Leonardo smiled wider than he had all night. Because the music inside you isn't asking for permission. It's asking to be heard. Malik ran his hand one last time across the keys, then stood, unfolding his cane. Clara looked at Leonardo. So what happens now? Leonardo looked back at the boy and said, now, ... We let the world listen. And with that, the boy and the maestro walked side by side off the stage, one guided by vision, the other by something far greater, and behind them, the echo of Malik's notes still danced in the silence, because sometimes the ones no one invites, are the ones who change everything, The next morning, Kennedy Hall was quiet again. The gold chandeliers dimmed, the red carpet rolled away. But on social media, the building was very much alive. A grainy phone video no longer than 1 minute and 30 seconds had been posted by a stagehand who lingered behind. The caption read, Blind Kid Stuns Leonardo Caruso with unrehearsed performance after gala. By noon, the clip had 1 million views. By evening, it was everywhere. You couldn't scroll through a screen without seeing Malik's hands dancing across the keys, his head tilting back as if hearing something no one else could. The comments exploded with disbelief. Who is he? This isn't a child playing, this is soul in motion. Someone find this boy? Reporters began calling Kennedy Hall. Music agents sent out emails. Even government programs for gifted youth wanted his name. But there was one problem. No one knew it. The gala guest list had no Malik. He wasn't part of any academy, not registered with any school, not a known performer. He had slipped into the gala unnoticed and left without a trace except for the impression he carved into the ears and hearts of everyone who heard that video. Leonardo Caruso, meanwhile, wasn't surprised by the storm. He sat in his private Manhattan apartment, watching the video like a man seeing something sacred. The old pianist had heard perfection his entire career. But this was something else. This was truth. Not performance, not Polish. Pure, untrained, unrestrained sound that came not from fingers, but from the deep place in the human soul that only pain, wonder, and hunger could reach. He picked up his phone and called his agent. Find him. The agent hesitated. The kid? Leo, come on, it's a one-time fluke. We've got press lined up for your album, cancel it, Leonardo snapped. I'm not promoting noise when I just heard real music for the first time in decades. Meanwhile, in a modest apartment 2 neighborhoods over, Miss Clara gently placed her hands over Malik's. They sat on the same old upright piano she'd rescued from a school auction. Years ago, it wasn't tuned. A few keys stuck on bad days. But Malik never complained. Why didn't you tell me you were going to play like that? She whispered. I didn't know I could, Malik replied honestly. What did you feel up there? Like I could finally breathe. Clara's eyes misted. They want to find you now, Malik? Reporters, managers, agents? Malik didn't smile. He didn't react with excitement like a child being handed a dream. He just asked softly, Will any of them help me find her? Clara paused. Your mama? Malik nodded. I remember her voice, he said. I remember how she played. I remember she said if I ever played like the man in the record, I'd be close to finding her. Clara squeezed his hand. Then we go where the music takes us. 2 days later, Clara answered the door to find Leonardo Caruso standing there. He wasn't dressed like a maestro. He wore a simple jacket, scarf loosely tied, and his face looked strangely humble, like he was standing at the door of something. Holy, you found him, Clara said, almost amused. I never forgot him. Leonardo answered. Malik stood quietly at the piano, running his fingers gently over the tops of the keys. He didn't turn around, but he said clearly, You came. Leonardo walked into the room, taking in the space. The worn-out carpet, the chipped bench, the dent in the side of the piano. Yet somehow it felt more powerful than any concert hall he'd ever played in. I want to help you, Leonardo said. Not own you, not sign you, just help you find whatever you're looking for. Malik turned. Can you help me find her? Leonardo paused. I don't know where she is, but I can help you be heard, loud enough, that if she's listening, she come." Malik nodded. That night, Leonardo sat beside him, not to teach, but to learn. And for the first time in his long, celebrated career, the old pianist didn't lead. He followed, because in Malik's music, he didn't hear a boy performing. He heard a world waking up. Weeks passed, then months. But the buzz never died down. Malik never gave a press conference. He didn't attend fancy interviews or sign deals. There were no flashy headlines of child prodigy signs multi-million-dollar contract. He didn't care for the world's noise. He had one focus: to follow the music until it brought her back. Leonardo Caruso had quietly taken him under his wing, not as a student, not as a publicity stunt, but as a sacred responsibility. He canceled international tours. He stopped accepting gala invitations. His agent was furious, but Leonardo didn't care, because for the first time in his career, he wasn't playing for fame. He was playing for purpose. 3 times a week, Leonardo would arrive at Clara's apartment. Sometimes they would play scales. Sometimes they wouldn't touch the piano at all. They would just talk about tone, about silence, about what it meant to play from pain instead of around it. Malik never used sheet music. He never would. Instead, he remembered everything by feeling, by sound, by emotion. His memory wasn't photographic, it was spiritual. He could replicate entire compositions after hearing them once. But more impressively, he could change them, bend them, reshape them until they felt like new. His hands moved with grace that defied age. Sometimes even Leonardo would stop mid-duet just to watch. Not because Malik was hitting the right keys, but because he made the wrong ones sound like they belonged. Words spread slowly, but surely. It wasn't like before when viral fame exploded overnight. This time, the world whispered. Music teachers shared his recordings in private circles. Jazz clubs started referencing a mysterious blind boy in New York. Classical composers began debating his improvisations on online forums, but Malik didn't pay attention to any of it. He still played on Clara's old piano, still wore his beige sweater and old sneakers, still carried his white cane like a compass, pointing not just to direction but destiny. Late one evening, after a long session, Leonardo sat across from Malik on the couch. Clara was asleep in the other room. Leonardo looked at him and said, "You know, when I was your age, all I wanted was to be great. Now, all I want is to play one more honest note before I die." Malik asked softly, "Do you think she's heard me yet?" Leonardo sighed. "I think the whole world's hearing you, Malik. If she's out there, she feels it. She has to." Malik nodded, but there was still a sadness beneath his stillness. A boy who could move nations with his hands, yet still longed for the arms of a mother he barely remembered. A week later, Clara received a letter. It had no return address, just her name. Inside was a photograph. A woman, black, beautiful, eyes full of sorrow, standing in front of a dusty, upright piano. On the back was a single handwritten sentence. Is he ready yet? Clara's hand trembled. She didn't show it to Malik. Not yet, because she didn't want to break his focus. Instead, she tucked it away in a drawer, because the world was about to hear him play again, this time in a hall twice as grand as Kennedy. Leonardo had arranged a private showcase at Carnegie Hall, not open to the public. Just musicians, real ones. The kind who live for melody, not for applause. Malik stood behind the curtain, cane in hand, listening to the sounds of shoes, whispers, and tuning strings on stage. Leonardo stood beside him, adjusting his collar. "You nervous?" he asked. Malik tilted his head. "No, why not?" Because I'm not playing for them." Leonardo smiled. "And who are you playing for?" Malik's voice was quiet. "For her." The lights in Carnegie Hall dimmed slowly until all that remained was silence, thick, tense, expectant. The kind of silence that comes before something sacred. There was no announcement, no program listing, no introduction. Just a small boy cane in hand, stepping alone onto one of the most prestigious stages in the world. Malik walked slowly, methodically, guided by memory, by instinct, by something inside him that told him exactly where to go. He could feel the space, its size, its weight, its gravity. The way the silence breathed. Behind him, Leonardo Caruso stood just off stage, hand over his heart. He had performed here 100 times before, but never like this, never as a witness. Never as a student. The audience leaned forward. No one whispered, no one moved. Even the coughs and shuffles common in formal halls were gone. As if the very room itself was holding its breath, Malik sat at the grand Steinway. His feet barely touched the pedals. He placed his cane to the side, rested his fingers on the keys, then nothing. He didn't start playing right away. He just sat there, listening to the silence, and then, without cue, without count, without ceremony, he played. The first note was so soft it barely registered. A whisper in the dark, a single drop in an empty well. But it was followed by another, then a chord, then a ripple. And suddenly the air moved. He didn't play a known song, not even something rehearsed. He built it as he went, pulling from the chords of memory, from the echoes of a childhood filled with unanswered questions. Empty beds and lullabies cut short. He played the pain of abandonment, the loneliness of silence, the warmth of Miss Clara's voice. The first time he touched ivory keys. The day he heard Leonardo Caruso on vinyl and knew his mother had once loved the same sound. Every note told a story without words, and it reached everyone. People began to cry. Not politely, but deeply, quietly. Some lowered their heads. Others just sat, stunned, as if they were remembering something buried in their own hearts. The man in the front row gripped his chest. A woman near the left aisle began to sob, even. The ushers stopped moving, in the back of the hall. Behind a pillar, a woman stood half-shadowed, dressed in simple clothes. Her hands were trembling, her eyes wide, she hadn't planned to come inside. But when the doors opened, the music pulled her in like a current, and when she heard the way Malik hit a certain broken C chord, her knees almost buckled, because only one person had ever played that exact progression. Her, years ago, in a small, dim kitchen apartment with a broken piano and a little boy who couldn't see but who always listened. She stepped into the light slowly, unsure if it was even real. Malik kept playing, eyes closed, head slightly tilted back. He didn't know she was there, but then she whispered, "Malik." He paused, his fingers froze mid-note. His body stiffened. That voice, that name, it wasn't Clara. It wasn't Leonardo. It was her. He turned his head slightly, almost. Not breathing, she stepped closer. "It's me, baby." The room was dead silent again. No one moved. He didn't say anything. He stood slowly, running his hand along the edge of the piano like it was a guide rail. He stepped forward, cane forgotten, guided only by sound, and when he was close enough, she reached out and took his hand. He didn't cry, He just wrapped both arms around her and held her like he had been holding that last note inside him for years. Leonardo stepped forward quietly and placed Malik's cane in the piano bench. No one clapped, because applause would have felt wrong. This wasn't a performance. It was a homecoming. Later that night, as the hall emptied and the buzz faded into the New York streets, Malik sat backstage beside his mother. She told him everything, why she left, how she tried to protect him from a life she was running from, how she watched every step from afar, how she listened every time his music surfaced. "I didn't know if I'd recognize your sound," she said. "But you did," he whispered, "because you played." "Like I did? Only better." He leaned his head on her shoulder. "I wasn't playing for the world," he said. "I know," she replied. "You were playing for me." That night no headlines were needed. No deals, no cameras, just a boy who finally found the one thing missing from his melody, and a mother who followed the sound of her son back into the light, because sometimes The music knows how to bring us home, even when the world forgets the way.